symbology. The deep silence, the enveloping blanket of silence. And as we enter the silence, we are naturally saying yes to the finer frequencies that silence is, that satsang is. We're saying yes to what is true, saying yes to love. A willingness to release and let go of the denser frequencies that hold us seemingly bound, but in truth, the recognition that we are always free. And the saying yes to the silence, saying yes to being the aliveness of life, saying yes to presence here now, saying yes to yourself, to a full and intimate connection to life through exploration and fully living whatever appears on the screen, knowing that the being that you are is never disturbed. The love that you are can never be taken. And in the depth of this knowing, everything is tested. We are given the incredible opportunity to find out for ourselves in our internal functioning what is true. What is this life? Who am I? What is love? And can I in this lifetime allow myself to be so worthy of knowing the love that I am? And so we start with the silence. We start with the knowing of what is true. That every being has the capacity to know the presence of being. We could say this is the entry point, and yet it's always here. Words become tricky. They do their best, and we use them as wisely as they allow. So this presence of being is the entry point into the more subtle frequencies of remembrance. That satsang in itself is a field of finer frequency. And the saying yes to this finer frequency is to say yes to yourself, to say yes to love, to recognize that the pull, the longing inside is only ever a longing to know yourself. And so being here now, just as you are, nothing to do, nothing to change or fix. In truth, you already are all that is longed for. And so you can do nothing to improve the situation, but to be here fully. All the tinkering in the external, trying to create perfect environments and moods, is all part of the great distraction, all part of the great delaying mechanism, delaying the inevitable remembrance of yourself. Sounds like some kind of impending doom, and yet it is the impending glory of knowing yourself, the impending glory of absolute freedom, the inevitable. The trajectory is heading in only one direction, and we are all part of that whole trajectory of refinement and deepening that is happening in consciousness. And we all have our unique part to play as an aspect of the whole. And the invitation of life is to play your part fully, to do the best you can. In truth, perhaps that is always what we are up to in our human experience. But sometimes we judge that others are maybe not doing their best, but that every being is working wherever they are. And it is not to be concerned with the seeming others. It is to know that others are puppets of your consciousness. Others are being pulled and moved by your own consciousness. You are, in a way, the puppet master of the great play of life. And the deeper that you rest in the truth of what is known, the puppets on the screen will start to reflect your inner knowing and the remembrance of the love that you are. When we are resting in fear, we are pulling the strings of the puppets to reflect that fear to us, so that we have the possibility of seeing through the fear in order to truly know the love that we are. This is what we are all longing for. And it sounds simplistic in terms of a play of life that can seem so complicated, so many intricacies. But in truth, we can boil all of life down to truth. And that truth is love or fear. What will you choose? What are you worthy of? What are you ready for? And what are you willing to give up in order to remember the love that you are? You play where you are, because it's not a personal choosing to play the game. It's the consciousness itself. The whole play of consciousness is a game. It's a game of life. And it's a game of life that no one can win. And so all of the attempts to win the game will always end in disappointment. It is only when we surrender being the player, the one that is doing and controlling, when we surrender that and realize that we are the creator of it all. But in order to know that we are the creator, we have to really surrender to not knowing, to not trying to win, not trying to fix, not trying to control, but having this willingness to see it all as the light of awareness and illuminate with utter honesty, an ever deepening capacity for honesty, that we illuminate all of the obscurations. And as the obscurations are illuminated and seen in the light of awareness, they are welcomed into the unwinding and releasing of the patterning of limitation. And this brings a sense of remembrance, a rebalancing, and a sense of integration within our functioning. That we're here to master this whole play of life, not to win the game, but master it by realizing that you are the creator of it, and you absolutely have the capacity and power to shift it, not towards me and my desires, but towards thy will. And through the dance of surrendering to thy will, realizing that you are one with thy, you are one with what is. You are one with divinity. You are one with love, with God. And this all falls into place when we open to discover what divinity is, what God really is, and that we truly see through all of the concepts that are rooted in fear and separation and protection. That the life is the opportunity to fully live and discover what is really going on here. And you can only really discover what is going on here when you have full autonomy and you give yourself absolute permission to live this fully, explore it fully, feel everything, absolutely be intimate with all of life, and an honesty and willingness to see yourself, a willingness to come out of denial, a willingness to face the protections, the shames, the guilts, the despairs, the anger, the hatred, willingness to face all of the places that are rooted and wound up in fear, with the possibility of illuminating and dropping the patterns of limitation of fear, and remember and shine radiantly as the love that you are. One of the greatest hooks in this great unfolding is our projection of love into the field of fear, right? We project love into the field of limitation, and we try to find love in the field of fear. We try to find love, validation, permission. We try to find a sense of oneness, the missing piece of the puzzle in others and relationships. The truth is, we are supposed to act out and play this, but we're not supposed to find a goal or fulfillment in relationships. We are supposed to be disappointed because it's not the whole picture. It's not the full truth. Disappointment is grace. Disappointment is an opportunity for extraordinary celebration, because it's showing us that love is not in the outer, it's not in the external, it's not in people and things and relationships. And we're so willing to project away the love that we are into other beings and imagine that we will find fulfillment in people and things, and these fantasy ideas of what love is that are essentially delusional. Ideas of soulmates and twin flames and mythic love. Ideas of finding the other part of you that you can nestle into and find wholeness in. But however profound and beautiful a human relationship is, it will always leave a deep emptiness inside if you do not know the love that you are. It will always be disappointing, even if you keep that disappointment secret inside the depths of your heart while playing out companionship, marriage, family dynamics. It's in all relationships. We will never find a sense of wholeness where we are projecting love, the possibility of finding love into the external. We will only ever find disappointment because, great glory, we're being invited to look deeper, to go deeper, to turn to where love is, to find out where is love in this moment, where is openness in this moment, where is freedom in this moment, where is the glory in this moment. We could even say in simplicity, where is awareness in this moment? Because where awareness is where you are, and is where love is, where truth is. And so in any moment, if we are extending our attention outwards and identifying, trying to fix or change, living in fantasy and delusion and ideas of perfect relationships, trying to find union with another, we will only be disappointed. So let that disappointment be seen as the grace that it is. Let that disappointment be a great glory, alleluia moment of celebration, that you cannot find love in others because it's not reality. It's not the truth. It's not that love and companionship is not beautiful. We're supposed to enjoy it, revel in it, feel the feelings, feel the highs of falling in love and feeling the disappointments, feeling the heartbreaks when relationships end or take a turn, when you're left for someone else, or you feel like you have to leave and hurt someone, or when a loved one leaves the body and you're left with these feelings of loss. All of this is part of the rich tapestry of the human life, but it's not the end of the story. We're not here for happy endings, for happy ever after, because happy ever after is not in the play of the world. Happy ever after is in the remembrance of eternal life, an eternal love, a love that never leaves, a love that can never disappoint, the love that you are, the love that is God, the love that is the glory. And this is what we are here for. This is the mission, the quest of a human life. If we should choose to really see clearly what this life is for, we are longing for love. It is the thing that keeps us company through the whole life. And we are longing for love because we are longing to know the self. We are longing to know divinity, purity, the purity of love. We're longing to know the truth of what we are, who we are. And it is only when we come to this remembrance in our own heart that we can shine and embody as an emanation of this pure, unconditional, and perfect love. And it's only here now in this that we can love truly, fully, to be a love that needs nothing, desires nothing, a love that is not a bargaining tool, a currency, a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, right? A love that is not a play, a love that is reality, needs nothing. It doesn't dwell in stories of mythic love. It doesn't dwell in stories of you're the piece that completes me. I'm whole when I'm with you. We don't dwell in these ideas of soulmates and twin flames, as compelling as they are for their drama and engagement of the heart. We're not here for the love songs that pull the heartstrings, as tender and profound as they are. We're here to recognize that every love song is calling us into a devotion to ourself, is calling us to meet ourself more deeply, calling us into a love affair with our very own self, calling us into an absolute compassion with ourself, an intimacy and a depth of knowing of who we are and what we are, so that we are in such a complete, radiant acceptance of all that we are. So we're not playing out projection, because we find that completeness in ourself. And yes, the play of love plays on. The play of life dances on, and love loves, and love plays out loving our companions and plays out as relationships. It plays out in whichever ways it needs to play out. But the whole dance, the whole game is not about winning and finding your mate and staying cozy by the fire for life, as comforting as it is to have such a companionship. There will never be a true sense of freedom and fulfillment until you have created a depth of companionship with yourself that is the absolute communion of oneness in the heart, where there is a rebalancing of the energies, the consciousness of the masculine and the feminine in the heart, the Shiva and Shakti rebalancing, so that you are living in integral wholeness of the remembrance of union, a heart that is completely balanced and harmonious in the remembrance of union, where you are not needing anything from the external, and you are resting in the glorious radiance of eternal love, a love that is pure and spotless. Perhaps our human life is to clean up love, clean up, tidy up all of our ideas of what love is, but not by creating mental projections of ideas of how we are good or how we are bad, but in a full acceptance of all that we are. And in that, a full acceptance of our discordant patterns, the ways that we are hooked, attached, delusional, right? The ways that we are addicted to fantasy. It is quite surprising to discover that all relationship goes on in your mind. Gulp, right? All relationship is happening in your mind. The whole thing is happening in your mind. It's a total fantasy. The whole thing is a fantasy. So why not shift the fantasy from fear to love? Why not explore this relationship that you're having with yourself that's playing out as disappointing and lacking intimacy? How about getting a little bit closer to yourself, sidling right up to yourself and creating a depth of intimacy with yourself and realizing that your whole relationship with the world, with anyone, is just with your own mind. It's all a conversation with yourself. Explore this. Find out for yourself if it's true. We can only find out if it's true if we actually come to meet all of the idiosyncrasies. And the way that we enter into this is by recognizing the resistances and discordances and being so present with them and realizing that instead of projecting blame and story upon others, that we resolve everything in the heart that knows. In order for this to happen, we have to really culture the heart that knows, in a way culture and refine our knowing. We have to shift the allegiance from fear and habit to externalize and keep the attention with the outer. We have to focus the attention with the inner world and really culture our remembrance and the recognition of the fine frequencies that are here in the knowing heart. And this all happens here now, in the silence, in this gorgeous blanket of enveloping silence, where we turn the attention inward, into the silence, into the presence that knows, into the inner radiance, the inner clarity. Because as we come to remember and recognize the knowing of the heart, we have this superpower, the superpower of our own knowing. A heart that knows is a heart that's free. a heart that sings in silence, like a symphony of one, is a heart that is free. The silent song is the song of freedom. A heart that is full in the knowing of itself. And so right here, in this felt sense of being here, I am here now. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, no experience to have, no agendas, no expectations, nothing to understand, just to be here and to recognize that whatever is happening now is the perfect happening. You are silent. You are still. You are silence itself, radiant and free. And in the presence of being, there is a knowing of this. The simplicity of I am, the simplicity of being here now. Stillness, silence, emptiness, openness. It does not matter if there are thoughts in the field, just to see them and be aware. Be aware of the moving, changing, and recognize that as awareness, you are not moving and changing. Awareness is open, empty, and free. Awareness is natural and simple and clear. Where awareness is where you are. Here, now, present, and free. You are a wide open field of freedom. You are freedom itself. This field is empty, empty of content, empty. And yet there is a knowing here that is full. A knowing of yourself is here. The field knowing its open emptiness, a sense of boundlessness, a sense of freedom, a sense of being everywhere. The glorious omnipresence of being everywhere, open, boundless, and free. A heart that is infinite and uncontained. A heart of being that is open, that never closes. And so as these words come, it is not about understanding. It is not about following instruction. It is about attuning to the resonance of your own knowing. That what is speaking is what is listening. It's all the same. It's the heart that knows. And it's all about the resonance. If you go towards a mind that is trying to get somewhere or follow instructions, or a mind that says, I'm not getting it, then you will totally miss the subtlety of the possibility of just being here. Let go of your agendas. Let go of your expectations. Let go of needing anything from this moment, from this meeting, from this gathering. Let go of everything and just be here. Need nothing. Come to the desireless moment of presence, the awareness that needs nothing, the awareness that just is. And it does not matter if the mind is thinking and the attention is being pulled into identification. Just let whatever is happening happen and stop trying to change anything. Stop trying. Let go and just be. Let go of control. Let go of the mind's knowledge, the agendas, the concepts, the beliefs. Just let it all go. Here now, we press delete upon the archives of all the gathered information. We press delete and we open to the intelligence of this moment, a wisdom so profound. In particular, we press delete on all spiritual knowledge and how it has been conceptualized and distorted by the mind. We let go. We surrender out of our addiction to spirituality and how spirituality can be the biggest hiding place and obscuration in this unfolding. As soon as we bring the layers of arrogance of knowing what spirit is, we are away from it. So let us return to spirit, empty. Let us return from the quest, empty. We could say that the true self returns from the quest of the worldly, empty. That we journey out, we take all the paths, we think that we're getting somewhere. So many times we think we are getting somewhere, and so many times we are humbled and disappointed. We attach ourselves to things, to teachings and teachers and communities, and just the whole idea of seeking is such a compelling distraction. But what if we journey and we follow all of these paths, and the great quest in reality is to return to this moment empty, having seen through the futility of the whole quest, because you already are everything that you have been looking for. That you return to this moment empty, and you realize that you are what you have been seeking. That you are here. Love is here. God is here. That it is not in things. That reality is here. That it's not in the play of the world, in the teachers and the teachings, in the lineages and the books. That it's here in your own heart, and you're returning to who you have always been before you started seeking outside of yourself. That there's a returning to yourself so fully, so intimately, that you realize Here you are in all your reverent glory. The letting go of the false ideas that love is outside of you, the worship of false deities, and the remembrance that when you put your full attention upon yourself, you discover the glorious reality is right here, shining as the heart, shining as yourself. And the quest is over because the fulfillment is here, right in the center of your longing, right in the center of your longing. The willingness to long only for yourself brings you the fulfillment that yourself is here. The longing for love, to truly give yourself to love. Give yourself so fully to love. Don't give yourself to others. Don't give yourself to ideas of love. Don't give yourself away. Give yourself to love itself right here in this moment and discover the love that you are. Discover that everything that you are longing for is right here. Everything that you want to give yourself to in the external is a projected reflection of what you already are. And so what it comes to is this willingness to recognize the spark of knowing that is already here and to illuminate everything that pulls you away, every way that you are willing to give your power away to the external, through projection, through blame, through the feelings of shame and guilt, the story of lack and deficiency, the story that I am bad. Essentially, if we distill it down, it's all of the ways that we collude with fear and we get tangled into the web of fear that is the collective consciousness in the belief of separation. So we come to the knowing in the heart of what is full, of what is untouched, what is undisturbed, the unmoving, unchanging, and we rest here in the presence of being, and we watch the play of the world, and we watch as the character plays out a reflection of all of the distortions in consciousness, and we keep shining the light the best that we are able to collapse the patterns of limitation, and we feel the feelings and we meet whatever it takes to come into an intimacy with ourselves, become out of denial, and we truly rest in the knowing. We stop denying that we know the truth of who we are. We stop imagining that someone is going to give us an experience of awakening. We stop giving away the power, imagining that some kind of guru in a far-reaching country wearing robes is going to give us freedom. We pull back the power and we realize that we create these images because we are longing for ourselves. Can we merge with these images in the heart and realize that we are just projecting our knowing of the divine externally because there is some kind of idea that we do not deserve, that we are not worthy or ready of knowing our own divinity, because we are believing in smallness, we're believing in separation. We cannot move in the world to find our way through this belief in separation. We cannot find wholeness in limitation. We cannot find the unlimited in the limited. We cannot find freedom in a container. You cannot find freedom swimming around the fishbowl of your mind, the fishbowl of your projected life. You can only find freedom when you are willing and courageous to jump out of the fishbowl of the collective consciousness, out of the whole story and all of the ways that we are so ready to give power away, to see that anyone or anything that you glorify is only glorified because you know the glory in your heart. If anyone is willing to accept your projection, then that's definitely something worth taking a look at. Definitely worth shining the light upon anyone that is willing to accept your projection. Pull it back in. Pull it back in. Find out who is that being without your projection, right? Yes, exactamundo, just an ordinary human being. The same love that we all are, the same divinity that we all are. It doesn't matter what we're wearing, how many malas, how big our Rudrakshas beads are, how much sandalwood paste we have on our foreheads. It doesn't matter how much incense we are burning. It does not matter how many chants we know. It does not matter how many times a day that we act out devotional practices and rituals. If you do not know this truth in your heart, you're not free. You are not free. Every being is just a character, a play of life. Every character is absolutely equal in this play of life. A being that is free to be entirely human, right? Entirely free to be. Entirely free to be whatever they want to be. Entirely free. But a being that is entirely free does not need devotion and worship, does not need anything from anyone. A being that is entirely free, and you will feel entirely free in the presence of a being that is entirely free. You will feel that that being needs nothing from you, nothing from you, nothing from you at all. You will feel free, and you might find that terrifying because you will have to go into yourself and find out for yourself. You will have to journey into your own heart, your own inner realms to find this reality, right? This can be so terrifying because we can feel unworthy of being our own way shower, of unworthy of really knowing what is true. But you know what is true. The heart knows what is true. And when we are aligned with this knowing, we know in our deepest intuition what is true. Now, it is not that there are not so many incredibly beautiful characters that we cross paths with that offer us golden insight of their inner freedom. Let us just say they are few and far between. But they are out there, and they are there. And it is about receiving the grace and not leaving yourself, right? It's about realizing that it's a true meeting. It's an even playing field, that you will feel so fully yourself, so free and clear in the presence of freedom, because it doesn't want anything from you. It expect you to be a certain way. We are creating the whole play of life. We're creating the appearance. Remember, you are the puppet master. Your consciousness is the puppet master. And the deeper that you know the absolute clarity of who you are, that you already are, the more freedom is known. The love that you are is known. And of course, this kind of pointing could also be taken on board subtly by the ego sense. And it could dance and start bringing in threads of arrogance. But of course, it will all be humbled in the end. You don't ever have to worry about anyone else, because life is the humbler. Life is the great equalizer, rebalancer. That is why we see so many situations in the play of the world of spiritual teachers being tumbled from the pedestals, because life is a humbler. We're not able to make it in delusion. We won't be allowed to make it in delusion. But what is happening is the consciousness is shifting. The consciousness is shifting. And so the way that we have to live this and the depth of autonomy that we have to have is shifting with it, right? We needed way showers, pioneers, and we have all followed, and we have reaped amazing insight from the way showers that have carried us into the depths of our heart, into the depths of being. But to truly know this freedom, as it gets spoken, you have to kill the Buddha on the road, right? You have to see that the Dharma in the end is completely empty. You have to be the one that returns from the quest empty, that you don't truly return heroic unless you return empty. The heroic return is not a return with stories and knowledge and a sense of self-importance. You return empty. And when you truly return empty to this moment, you are free. And you keep questing, and you keep following those threads outwards and gathering the pieces of your own wholeness. You keep bringing back everything to wholeness. But what you bring back is not something or someone. You bring back the wisdom light of your own heart, and you just shine as the love that you are, as the truth that you are. And life goes on. And as they say, chop wood and carry water. You do the laundry. You move in all of the ways that a human moves, according to the laws of nature. You are not an exalted being. You are divinity. You are love. You are one with God. And yet you do not need to act it out in any way, because the knowing is deep enough to know that acting it out would just be someone else's play, right? So we are being dismantled. We're being unwound. We're being emptied of all of our ideas and concepts until we come to a freedom where nothing is needed, where freedom does not depend upon anything or anyone, that we're not projecting ideas outside of what we are, that we are willing to accept our own worthiness. We're willing to be here now in the fine frequency of what satsang is. We're willing to be here in the fine frequency and to know what we know in the truth of the heart, the presence of being, the love that is, the openness. We're willing to recognize as we start to see clear vision of what God really is. We're willing to recognize that we have the capacity to open to these fine frequencies of holiness, open to these fine frequencies of true sacredness, before the concepts and ideas, that we start to just know in the heart, this is God, this is what God is. You cannot fake it. You cannot fool yourself. You can try, but what's the point of that? It's just a knowing, this is what God is. This is what God is. This is what true love is. It's a resonant knowing. It's a fine frequency. And it's without question. It's absolutely without question. Because you are one with it. You are the divinity. You are the wholeness. And so you are here. And love is here. God is here. Wholeness is here. Divinity is here. And there is a knowing here that you can rest in, that you can rely upon, that you can trust with all that you are. Even if it seems like you're dancing backwards and forwards, this truth is always here. This truth is the wide open field. And this whole unfolding is this incredible quest where you will journey outwards until you come home empty. You will journey outwards. We all will journey outwards in all of the ways that we each have a unique unfolding, a unique quest, a unique assignment, but we are an aspect of the whole, and our quest, our assignment of the human life is in absolute service to the whole. That what we discover as we come to a finer and finer, deeper intimacy with ourselves, and we make our allegiance with love so one-pointed and full that we untangle our threads that are held in fear and the belief in separation, that we pull out the threads out of the collective and we start resonating at a finer frequency, that we're living as divinity and we are part of this extraordinary shift that is happening for humanity, for the consciousness that plays as humanity, that the humanity as it is in the process of shifting, not to be a better humanity in the way that we have known, but a shift in consciousness that changes what humanity is to divinity, and an expression then of what that humanity is, we do not know, but it is in process, and we are the living, working parts of that process. We are the living, moving parts, the aspects, the instruments, the vehicles of this awakening of consciousness, this shift that is happening. It's in service to the whole. And our work is not to make collaboration with fear and dance in the world, externalizing and trying to make a lovely life for me, or even a lovely life for my children, right? Because the way that you make a more refined, let's say, the idea of a positive future for the children is by embodying this frequency and actually meeting the children where they are. The children already know this, and what they need is parents, guardians, families, and companions that are living at this frequency that allows them to live their fineness, that allows them to live at the frequency they have come in as. This is the reason why a lot of young people are descending into kind of despair and mental health issues, is because they don't have the guardians and families around them to allow them to live at the fine frequency of what they know to be true. So the great glory of a positive future, let's say, for want of a better way of expressing, let's use the way that we understand within our human realm. The positive future is about embodying this truth now and raising your frequency to the finest possible frequency of the remembrance of love, and withdrawing the collaborations with fear and meeting the children, meeting the young ones where they are, allowing them to live what they know to be true, so they don't have to be disguising themselves in denser frequencies, and they don't feel dragged down, right? They're not being dragged down into the frequencies of separation, that they're allowed to live the pure frequencies that they know. So when we leave our sense of victimhood and we don't teach the children to be victims of life, we allow them to live the purity of oneness that they know, right? We allow them to live the truth that they know, that we're not divided from each other. They know, the children know, that we are one with nature, that we are one with something so profound and beautiful, that we, in a way, we honor their need to keep the integrity of what they know, the oneness with nature, the oneness with love, the oneness with all that is. And we don't have to feel a fear that we have to change the members of our families that don't live this. We trust that if we're living this, we're embodying a frequency that has the possibility to touch our families, our companions, the children, the young ones, right? That we just live this. The way to be the most profound force for all beings of this love is to live it, is not to conceptualize it, not to get lost in the stories about it, but to actually be a living embodiment of this. To listen to the children, to see the light, to let them be their unique selves, to not project ideas. You need to become a doctor, you need to become a lawyer, you need to have a good way of living. No, you shouldn't be creative. You need to do this, you need to do that. Notice how we project all of our own unmet aspirations upon the children and the young ones. What if we withdraw all of those projections and we just see the life and the vibrancy of the laws of nature of these young beings actually come alive, and we allow them to be what they need to be, and we listen to them and we hear them and we see them as they are. We love them in their uniqueness, right? This is the invitation, So, of course, it comes into the awareness that we want to do the best for our families and for the idea of a future. But the future is now. The future is now. We live this now. It's like we're living in the frequency that humanity is heading for, right? We live it now and we act in service as the light, as the guidance, as the support, so that we can hold and care for the beings that are tangled into the collective consciousness. So it all starts here in the snowy silence, in the great, glorious, enveloping blanket of silent knowing. There is nothing more glorious than being completely aligned with nature, so aligned with nature, so one with nature, that you start to know without question what true nature is. And here's something beautiful flowering. It is that we can also be very disturbed about how nature is being destroyed and dishonored and disrespected and kind of raped as a resource for humanity's greed and power imbalance. And again, we don't shift that in the world. We become a true activist of love by living this, aligning with nature, because when we align with nature, we're aligning our frequency, let's say, with true nature. So we're living at the finer frequency of nature and we're nourishing nature. It's like we're enlivening nature by aligning with its truth, by, let's say, aligning that nature cannot be destroyed. We align with the truth. We don't align with the fear story. Nature's being destroyed. We're in climate change. Everything's going to collapse. We don't align with the fear of that. We align with the knowing of our heart that nature cannot be destroyed. Nature cannot be destroyed. And the appearance of that happening is not really the destruction of nature. It's humanity destroying humanity. It's humanity destroying itself. And it's all happening to awaken humanity to something greater. And where that doesn't happen, there will be diminishing, dismantling. But how we nourish nature is by knowing true nature, is by aligning with nature. And by aligning with nature, we live with the seasons, depending on where we live and if we have seasons. But we align. We eat the foods that are seasonal. We become one with nature by nourishing naturally the vehicles that we are, with the light and the darkness of nature, with the temperatures, the heat and the cold of nature. We completely align with nature. And we respect nature because we're one with nature. We would not hurt nature. So we respect it. But the resonance of that is so much more powerful, truly, than any activism. Even though that kind of activism and love of nature, like chaining yourself at sites where logging is happening and, oceans and rivers are being polluted. Like being an activist at that level is very powerful and profound in a certain way. But if you're not truly aligned with being and you're actually an activist within the cycle of fear, you're actually feeding the fear, right? This is why the whole play of the world is delusional. If you're not coming from love, like the knowing of love in your heart, then all activism on the surface of life will be an act of fear. It will be a belief that the power imbalance can destroy. The whole play of the collective consciousness is a frequency, a dense frequency. In a way, the imbalance, it is destroying itself. It is destroying itself. There's no question of that. But its destroying of itself is also its awakening of itself. And in the destroying of itself, through all of the ways that appear on the screens, the destruction of itself is the awakening of itself, right? You have to feel that in the heart, not try to understand it with the mind. But in all of it, the collaboration has to be with love. If you are in collaboration with love, then you are the most profound vehicle of service for the whole. You're an aspect of the whole working intelligently as part of the whole. So hopefully maybe this clears up some of the concerns that can come in the mind, because those concerns that come in the mind then have us collaborate with fear. And what we're speaking about here is illuminating all of the ways that we collaborate with fear and meeting those fears so deeply. It's like facing the fear, going into the fear until we find at the root of the fear is always love. It has to be, because there is only love. At the root of everything is love. We have to find the source of it all. And this is why our greatest form of activism, our greatest weapon in all of the craziness that can be seen on the screen, our greatest weapon is love, is the heart that is deeply rooted in peace. And the living of this right on the surface of life is the greatest act, the greatest declaration to silently live this amongst our companions and to love, to just love. It gets spoken of as like rising in love, that we rise in love, because love can never be extinguished. What we are in truth can never be extinguished. And we are in a time of great shifting and change. And for that shifting and change to happen, for this awakening of consciousness to fully happen within this realm, to complete its mission, is to bring the consciousness to the remembrance of divinity, right? But there can be so many misunderstood interpretations in the new age that are still in collaboration with fear. And that's why we have to have such discernment that so much of the new age and spirituality is actually in collaboration with fear and still serving the me. It's still all about the me getting what it wants. It's only when our collaboration is truly deeply with love, and this can only happen as we open here now to the awake field of being that we are, and that we make our allegiance absolute. We make our allegiance absolute with love, with God, with the glory. As we know what love is, as we know what God is, as we know what divinity is in our own heart, we make our absolute allegiance. We make a deep remembrance of this union. So we let the love affair lead us to the inner marriage, the remembrance of this inner marriage with yourself. And then you live as the product of the inner marriage. Your life is, in a way, an integrated child of the inner marriage, that your life is an expression of the inner marriage, right? So as these words come, it is to feel the resonance of truth in your own heart, where you can feel the deep silence of the heart, the presence of being, that knows the resonance, the finer frequency that you are saying yes to. And how this finer frequency, how it creates purification, is because it illuminates and dismantles the denser frequencies, the seeming lower frequencies, and that we open to a willingness to let go of our addiction to lower frequencies. We keep saying yes to the finer, subtler frequencies, and saying yes is automatically within the intelligence going to bring a sense of purification and surfacing of discordance. Of course, the true purification is the purification of any fear. It's the purification that there is any other choice but love, right? If you feel like you have a choice, choose love until you really know there is no other choice but love. And when you know there is no other choice but love, choose love, choose love, choose love, choose love, choose God, the glory. Choose what you know to be true and live this, shine this, be the radiance of this in the face of whatever presents. Live in and as the fine frequency, live as this reverberation, this aliveness, live as an antenna transmitting the frequency of your knowing that there is no other choice. There is no other choice. And eventually this brings you to a knowing there's only God. There's only God. There's only love. There's no other choice because it's all there is. It's all there is. And the living of this is this peaceful living. It's living your humanness. It's living this life, this human life, whatever it asks, just as this love. This is the living emanation. And of course, in the living of life, things will come in to refine, to purify, to be seen, to be deepened. You have no idea all the extraordinary, beautiful possibilities this infinite field will bring forward. And it's all happening. It's all happening. And you will play characters you will be the puppets in other beings' puppet shows. But you're pulling the strings from your inner consciousness, from your inner knowing. So here we are, big picture coming forward again. Seemed like it was going to be a little dabble into the truth about love, but there it goes. It just gets wider and wider, can't help itself. Can't help bring that big picture forward. It's glorious, right? We could say the future is glorious if we want to use this language. The future is glorious because the future is now. Yes, there is a lot of destruction on the screen, but you know, what is being destroyed is being recycled, right? There's no loss. It's all being recycled. And that might sound like it's not compassionate. That's not true. The compassion is extraordinarily deep for the suffering of humanity. And it's the compassion that drives the vehicle to go deeper and to hold this truth, right? It's the depth of compassion that allows us to be absolutely committed and one-pointed. The compassion for humanity's suffering is what drives us to live as love, to be the beacon, to be the reverberation, to not leave this frequency, to absolutely, we could say, uphold the knowing of this truth, even when it's not commonplace and you might stand out like a bit of a sore thumb. It's to celebrate what you have the extraordinary honor to live. You have the extraordinary honor of this possibility dawning in this life. And so why would we give away the possibility and keep making allegiance with all the nonsense and the small talk and the ideas of what we're attached to and how we have to live, when this possibility is happening? If you can feel the truth of this inside you, make that allegiance right now to live this. Cancel all those nonsense plans. Cancel all the ways that you think that you have to behave. Cancel it all and just say, sorry, I can't make it. I'm hanging out with God. I'm hanging out with love. Sorry, I can't do that anymore. I won't do it anymore. Either meet me here. I love you. Live your life. Do whatever you want to do. I honor, but I will not pretend that I am not in love with love. I will not pretend that my life isn't all about God and truth. I will not pretend that I am less than what I am. I will not make myself small to make any ego burn in the fire, right? I will not give warmth to the ego structures. I will only live this truth, and I will burn as a fire. And come, keep warm here. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about truth. Let's talk about love. Let's talk about what struggles, but let's talk about it not as a victim. Let's talk about shifting this play. Let's talk about shifting humanity's suffering to the awakening of humanity to love. Let's stop hiding in the shadowlands and pretending and denying the truth of who we are. Let's start facing it all. Let's be the change, right? Just as beloved Gandhi was such a beacon for, be the change that you want to see in the world, right? Wow, I'm sounding like an activist for love here, sounding very full of passion. But you know, as the sharing comes forward, this is the beauty. We're reverberations. It's like it might seem like we're just a small group, and what can happen, like, you know, how far can this really go? But the truth is that these frequencies, these fine frequencies, they touch the whole. And that's the glory, is that we don't need like to have a meeting of 10,000 men and women and beings and gorgeous ones. We just need a few sincere beings to carry this truth right deep into the heart and to be the reverberating resonance that's living and touching this all as secret agents, right? Because it's touching the whole, because at the denser frequencies, we're only like me, me and my partner, me and my family, me and my children. The me world is small, but as we enter into the glory of God, we're touching every heart of humanity, right? The finer the frequency, we're touching every spark of knowing in every heart, everywhere, whatever is happening. Let this be a possibility, a gorgeous, radiant possibility, right? And there are so many prophets and beings that have spoken of this. And you know, the recognition of that is only dawning here as the words come. In a way, I hear the words as they come. And there's a recognition of, oh, yes, that is what Gandhi said. That is what we've heard this. But this is being spoken like here now, fresh. It's absolutely fresh and alive. And the freshness and aliveness is bringing, let's say, the messages that have reverberated with us right here now. And you know, this is what we're invited into. Digest the teachings, digest everything that brings you alive, but don't get stuck giving your power to that. Become a beacon for that. Take it in, digest it, and let the nourishment of your alive wisdom be the radiating force for change, right? Take it in. Take in whatever teachings, right? Whatever brings you alive, whatever's stirring and carrying you deeper into yourself, whatever's part of your exploration. Don't leave your power at someone else's feet. Bring the power all the way into your own heart. Chew it up, explore it, and digest it until you can express it freshly as your own, right? This is what has been discovered here. Of course, I have digested so much. and I love the companions that have offered me their grace and wisdom and insight and teachings and lineages to digest. But where it really comes alive is where it's taken in so deeply and it's brought out to be current for this time that we're living in, that we're not in denial of our human experience and what we're living in, so that we can all find our unique way to be a really alive, radiant instrument. And for some, it's silently, secret agents just moving as you do. And for some, there's ways of expressing it. But let the song of your silent heart that knows that the only choice is love, the only choice is the glory. Let this knowing be where you rest, so that whatever happens in life, that you first of all call in to your knowing, right? That you call in to the presence of being, that you call in and you recognize, here's the being, here's the knowing, here's the fine frequency, here's the radiance of the knowing of this heart. And before I identify and I go into the drama and stories, let me rest here. Let me choose love here. Let me remember what is known to be true. And now let me look upon whatever is discordant and resistant that is seeming to be on the screen. Let me look upon it with the eyes of love, with the presence of being. Let me look upon it as my true self, right? So let yourself dwell in this atmosphere of glorious love. Let yourself recognize the Satya Loka, right? The realm of truth. That here now you can live. This is what we might call the resonance of the future. This is where we're all heading. The consciousness is heading to the remembrance of this divinity. This is the trajectory. But you can live this frequency right now. So be alive, right? This is the bliss. This is the nectarine field of bliss. Let the nectarine field of bliss be where you dwell. This atmosphere, this environment of God, of love. Feel the bliss flowing. Drink in the nectarine bliss of your knowing. Let your nervous system be saturated with the bliss of your knowing. And then look upon life from here and find out what that discordance is, what that stress is, what that resistance is, what that pain is. Look upon it from here and allow whatever is needed, right? Following all of the things that we speak about, feeling the feelings, meeting the sensations, allowing the expression. All of the things that we speak about are welcome in this field. But don't forget to start in your absolute glorious knowing, because it's so easy to get pulled into the mind and the stress and the poor me and the victimhood and the, oh, I need to process more. I've got more work to do, right? Be so careful and discerning not to get pulled by the mind's ideas of there's more to fix before I can know that. There's more work I have to do before I can live this. Start in the glory. Start anything, every day, every moment in the glory, and end in the glory, right? Whatever happens, however far you wander in the meanderings of the mind, every opportunity, bring it back to the glory, right? Gorgeous. It's really gorgeous. I can feel the field really responding and excited and knowing and having aha, seeing, oh yes, there is somewhere where I have to have an awareness of, or okay, what am I going to do about that, right? But again, not to fall into the trap of making yourself wrong, because here comes the story of lack again. Here it comes, the story of, oh golly, I'm doing it wrong. Here comes Eeyore, right? Oh golly, I can never get it right. Here I am again, right? No. Don't give power to that one. Bring Eeyore to the Tao of Pooh, right? Bring Eeyore to the honeypot, right, of now. Don't collaborate with Eeyore, right? Don't pin the tail on the donkey. Just keep still. Keep still. Choose love. There's no other choice but the honeypot, the honeypot, the honeypot. Just like Pooh, keep your whole focus upon the honey, right? Bring Eeyore to the honeypot and let that mind feast upon the honey of now, right? Let there be the possibility of seeing Eeyore, right? Shift out of that melancholy, miserableness, that constant need to pull it all down. See the possibility of Eeyore dancing high on the honey of the knowing of the heart, that there's only love, right? It's all about love. It's all about this remembrance that you already are, right? You could probably just now listen to this sharing on repeat. Everything that you need is in here. And the grace and the glory is that you have all brought it forward, right? This instrument here is just a loudspeaker for the one heart. It's just an amplification and expression of the one heart, an expression of the truth that your heart knows, right? So all glory to the heart that knows. All glory to the heart that knows.